What's going on, guys? We get asked all the time which E-Moto you guys should buy because we've tried them all. And today we're doing a comparison. We have a Surron Ultra B and we have an Eride Pro SS. Now you'll know that these bikes are not the same retail price. The Surron Ultra B is about $6,500. The Eride Pro SS is about $4,900. Now we have a bunch of minor modifications to this bike to get it closer to $6,500, and we're gonna be comparing the two. They are quite different, but also have very similar performance. Before we get out and ride and compare these bikes, many of you guys already know that we recently started and launched an E-Moto parts store. We sell bikes and upgrades for all these E-Motos. The support you guys have given us has been so fantastic. It's been awesome supplying you guys parts, helping you with questions. We appreciate you guys watching these videos and supporting us. So if you guys are interested in any components or parts for your bike or a whole new bike, check out tbelectricmoto.com. Link in the video description. Let's head out and ride. What's going on, guys? This is Lance. I am starting on the Surron Ultra B, as you can see right here. And we are headed up this trail that basically just goes straight up the mountain. It's kind of a unique one where it doesn't really have any corners and it just climbs elevation and vertical feet really fast. It's really steep and rocky and loose. So that's gonna be an adventure for today's ride. But I want to just talk about these two bikes, how they compare, and the specs first, and then we'll talk about how they actually feel. So specs wise, Surron Ultra B, it's a much bigger bike than the Eride Pro SS. They're not really technically in the same category, but the reason we're comparing them is because a lot of you guys, don't know which bike will be best for you, and us having ridden and owned all these different variants, we can just give you a little bit more knowledge, help you guys pick which bike will be better. So the Surron Ultra B, it weighs 187 pounds stock. This bike I'm on is totally stock. We haven't changed a single thing on it for now. The Eride Pro SS weighs 139 pounds. So what is that? 40 pounds basically? 40 pounds lighter. So that's a pretty big difference. Super noticeable when you ride them. The biggest things that make this bike heavier are going to be the Moto brakes instead of mountain bike style brakes. It has the same 19-inch size wheels, but they do have a little bit larger tires. This does have a larger battery. It does have a larger motor. It has a bigger, beefier Moto style frame. It has bigger 240 mil travel suspension front rear versus the Eride Pro having 200 mil travel front and rear. And basically this bike just feels a lot more like a motorcycle than like a small E-Moto that almost, I don't know how to explain a small E-Moto the way it feels compared to like a mountain bike. It's obviously a lot heavier and bigger, but it just doesn't quite feel like a moto. It feels like a pit bike almost in a way. Quick interruption from today's video sponsor, Velocity Volt's E-Moto racks. They sent us this out to try. We've now tested it. We took it on a 4-hour road trip to Moab and back with a big, heavy, modified bike on it. Worked great, was easy, simple, and small to store. So now I'm gonna remove my cheap Harbor Freight rack off of my car, and we're gonna install this one and show you how to put a bike on it. We got our E-Moto all mounted up. I love how it fits on there. They've got these two peg holders, one on each side. Just put the pin in, tighten it down, and then you can use the included strap to strap your frame on. What I love about this rack is it's so compact. It's way smaller than my Harbor Freight one, and I can just put this up on a shelf in my garage when I'm not using it. Super simple. This is the single bike carrier for $330. They also do a double bike carrier for more money. If you guys are interested in purchasing this, check the link in the video description. We like it so much, we've honestly tried and tested it quite a bit before making this ad because we wanted to see if it would really work well for us. And it's fit every bike that we've tried on it. Talaria's, Eride Pros, we've tried a re-road. We also like it so much that we're probably going to start selling it on our parts store, tbelectricmoto.com. But until then, use that link in the video description to head on over to Velocity Volts, get yourself a rack. Now, if we move on to power, the Surron Ultra B has 12.5 kilowatts. It has a 72 volt, 55 amp hour battery. Pretty good sized battery with a lot of range on this bike. The Eride Pro SS has a 72 volt, 40 amp hour battery, and they rate the bike at 12 kilowatts. But that is like a true peak power where that bike really is more like 10.5 or 11 kilowatts in all the testing that we've done on it. So it's got less range than this, but still a good amount of range. You can still get a good ride in. Since these bikes are so close in power as well, we're gonna do a drag race. All right, everyone, it is drag race time. I'm on the Surron Ultra B. Alex is on the E-Ride Pro SS. He does have a 16-inch rear tire, so that will slow him down just a little. My bike is totally stock, but Alex is also about 15 pounds lighter than I am, and obviously that bike is about 40 pounds lighter than this one. So it'll be an interesting race because we got similar power numbers. 3, 2, 1, go! I'm pulling a little.
Wow, okay, that's pretty good. And he's still pulling on me because that thing has a higher top speed than this one. Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty good test. Like Lance said, I am like 15 pounds lighter than him, and the bike is 40 pounds lighter than that one. And that still pulls on him with a heavier rider, a heavier bike.
So we got him by a bit of a margin there, to be honest. Even with, I mean, the bike, theoretically, it says it only has a half a kilowatt more, and yet we won by a pretty good margin.
I'm gonna talk about how these two bikes feel so different. Getting off one from the other, it feels so incredibly different. People don't realize how big the Ultra B is compared to these bikes, and the Ultra B is still a smaller version of like a full-size bike. It's still smaller. The way that I ride this bike and the way that I ride the Ultra B are completely different. I can get on this bike, I can whip it through incredibly tight trails, I can jump this bike much better. It's just all around easier to ride and less fatiguing on your arms because there's not as much weight up front. I have some experience riding full-size motos. I had a older 250 and I've ridden my father's 450, which is an incredibly heavy bike. So I have some experience riding heavier bikes like that. So being able to ride these lighter bikes, take them anywhere you want, go over anything without getting tired. You can pick them up, no problem, to push them over obstacles. It's so much fun for me. It really depends on the trail. Now that I have access to an Ultra B and all these lightweight E-Motos, it's really gonna depend on the trail that I'm gonna be riding that day, whether I take the Ultra B with the heavier frame and the handles better, or I take these lighter bikes that are easy to maneuver, easy to get through rougher terrain. If I'm riding around town, wanting to bounce around shops or just zip around, no question about it, I'm taking a smaller bike to get away with more, to just ride around. And it's super low profile, and you don't look like a full-size moto like that Ultra B does. And look up there, you can't even see Lance, but we're gonna be going up this gap in the trees and up that crazy steep hill up there.
Okay, so that mostly sums up the differences on paper between the two bikes. We got the weights, the power, the range, the battery sizes. So now you guys can kind of pick, you know, in your minds, which bike is gonna be best for you. And I'll just give you some ideas. So if you are a guy that comes from riding motorcycles, you're gonna like the Ultra B better, like you just are. Unless you're really looking for a total different change of pace with a much smaller, lighter, nimbler bike, the E-Ride Pro is gonna be an awesome option for you. But if you love moto brakes and you want, you know, hand guards on your bike and you want a bigger feeling, sturdier feeling frame and suspension setup, the Ultra B is going to be better for you. But if you come from like riding mountain bikes and haven't ever owned a moto, the E-Ride Pro you're probably going to really like, and that was my experience. I came from riding mountain bikes, not motos. I've never owned a gas moto. It's crazy, I know, but I never have. And so I came from riding tons of mountain bikes. I worked at a bike shop. And so I fell in love with the small, nimble, lightweight bikes that almost felt like a mountain bike in a lot of ways, but also have tons of power and are way fun. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the prices of these are different. So this bike is about $6,500, the E-Ride Pro is about $4,900, but our E-Ride Pro that we're comparing today has some upgrades, some modifications to make it more capable and more fun in our opinion. So let me just list off those mods and we'll tally up the price to see how close it is to the price of this bike. Well guys, we have stopped partway through our ride to continue discussing the differences between these two bikes, and I want to talk about what upgrades are on this and show that. But first, if you guys saw our recent video where me and Reed and Alex did a race to the top of the mountain, if you haven't, super fun video. We'll link it in the video description. Really entertaining, I think, one of our better videos. But you'll see, this is where I overheated my motor and had to hike my Surron way up this, and I ended up losing the race. And we kind of added up all the time that I lost with my motor overheating, and I actually would have won. So like, hindsight looking back, pretty crazy that I chose this path, but it was a fun experience. If you guys haven't seen the video, go check it out.
Okay, I'm rolling.
Okay. So as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, these bikes are not the same price. And so to make this comparison a little bit more fair, we've added some modifications to our Eride Pro. This is a little bit of a Franken bike because we do a lot of our parts testing on this specific model, and we try a lot of our new TV components. So let's just go over what we have here. We have a Warp 9 riser bar, 3-inch rise. This is our favorite bar, fantastic setup. We have a Warp 9 stem lock that keeps our headset in check because we moved to this TB Electric heavy duty direct mount stem. We also have a grit shift blinder headlight. This is a nice upgrade from stock. Stock still works good, but this is about 3 times as bright, so it does make a difference. We also did a Tusk ground wire front tire. We sell this, fantastic tire, very inexpensive and makes a big difference. If we move to the back, we have some more major upgrades. We have our TB Electric 16-inch rear wheel and a 90/116th Bridgestone rear tire. This makes a huge difference to the bike. I think it changes it drastically for the better. With that, we have an upgraded rear sprocket and rotor that you can option with our TB Electric rear wheel. We also have upgraded foot pegs. Those make a major difference. You guys can bundle different parts on our website and get a discount. So we have bundle tiers 1, 2, and 3 that have most of these parts. So go check that out, tbelectricmoto.com. We're also in the process of figuring out what parts should go in bundles for the Ultra B. This bike, as I mentioned, is completely stock right now. We have a lot of modifications and upgrades planned. We've also ridden other upgraded Ultra Bs and kind of got some ideas for what we should do. But if you guys have an Ultra B, or if you have parts that you think make a big difference on this bike, drop us a comment. Let us know. Help us build some good bundles that'll be good for you guys as customers. Okay, I'm saying goodbye to Ultra B and I'm gonna get on the Eride Pro SS. We decided we don't really want to go up that at the moment. We're gonna be lazy and we're gonna turn around and go back down the fun section.
Haha, all right, I got to switch to the Ultra B for the way down. We decided not to go on that crazy gnarly steep hill that Lance went on. I'm just glad I'm switching to this Ultra B for the downhill because this bike handles way good. And that Eride Pro would handle better if the fork wasn't blown out, but it is. So I don't know why Lance let me switch to this bike. We literally have so many new bikes on the way or in the works right now. You guys need to subscribe right now so you don't miss any new videos and any new info on some of the hottest new bikes coming out this year. Dude, another reason why I like going downhill on this bike is because the brakes are so good. Oh, I wish I could have these brakes on my Talaria. My Talaria is pushing like 175 pounds. There's Lance, probably letting his brakes cool down. Exactly. He said exactly. Don't get me wrong, there are some upgrades that we need to do to this bike like we mentioned before, but out of the box, this is a very, very strong bike that most people, I think, could get away with only foot pegs and you'd be set on this bike. You don't need anything else. Us being taller riders, we're definitely looking for the riser bar along with the foot pegs, plus the bigger wheels and all these upgrades that we've been planning on. But if you're just looking for an out-of-the-box bike, this is a fantastic option.
Okay, here we go on the Eride Pro. This bike feels so different. Holy cow. I'm used to riding these small, nimble bikes, but man, it only takes, you know, an hour on an Ultra B to just feel like these bikes are just kind of small and flimsy. So just keep that in mind if you guys are buying one. If you want your bike to feel bigger and robust, this is probably not your bike, to be honest. Like, the Ultra B is gonna be a lot better for that. Look at where we are, you guys. Check this out. Wow. So we started all the way down there in the valley, and look at all these Utah canyons, rolling hills. Salt Lake's over there. We've got the airport. That's the Great Salt Lake. That's Antelope Island. Crazy beautiful place we live in. We're so lucky to be able to do this. I want to throw one more point out there, and that when you're purchasing an E-Moto, there really is no wrong answer. The reason we in these videos are always comparing stuff and testing stuff is because that's what our channel is all about, and we have the opportunity to do that because we have all the bikes around and tons of different modifications and upgrades. But for you guys actually buying the bike, honestly, you don't need to be that critical of what you're buying. You don't have to have the best of every single component and worry that you're buying the wrong bike, because at the end of the day, they're all amazing and they're all going to get you out having a ton of fun when you ride. Well, just like we went up fast, we are going down fast. Dropping elevation super quick. Man, these bikes just feel so different. I'm really excited to have an Ultra B in the collection now, because there are times where you just want a bigger style moto. You know, different use cases, different trails call for different kinds of bikes. You can obviously do most stuff on both bikes. Like, you can still ride really tight, small single track trails on an Ultra, and you can still ride big dirt roads with whoops on an E-Ride. But it's fun to have the opportunity to kind of try different things, of course. If you guys made it this far in the video, thank you. We really appreciate it. And if you need any upgrades, use discount code Talaria Boys or TB Electric on our online store, link in the video description. And both those codes will get you guys discounts on a lot of different parts. It doesn't work on everything, sadly, but everything we could make it happen on, it's happening.
Cool.
It is recap time. We just finished our ride. We did about 14 miles, climbed most of the way up the mountain. Super fun, awesome time. As we mentioned, that was our first time coming down that, and it was so steep. I had to let these small like bike brakes cool a couple of different times, but the Ultra B brakes did great, right? Like,
Yeah, Ultra B brakes did fantastic. I didn't stop a single time.
yeah, they just really hold up. And that's kind of like one of the major differences is if you're a bigger guy, like I mentioned, if you're tall like me and, you know, 230, 240, 250 pounds, you're gonna like the Ultra better. Like, you just are. It's still fun to have a small bike, and you can definitely put it through its paces, but it's not gonna feel the same that this does, and I think that you're gonna prefer it. With that being said, I hope this video was helpful to you guys. Hopefully you can have a little bit more informed purchasing decision, and you guys can get the bike that will be best for you. We appreciate you guys watching. Check out our online E-Moto parts store.